I put out a call for who wants to talk about this topic the other day on Instagram and Facebook, and I was overwhelmed with how many comments and shares and likes. I don't think I've ever had a reel that popular. So I had to read through all the comments and get up to date on what you all are thinking about, and then I had to make an outline, and then I had to do a little bit of research, and I exercised in between. And so I have so much to share in this video, particularly about exercise intolerance. So if you could do me just one favor, please hit subscribe and either like or comment or something, or hit the little bell, because that helps promote the channel and helps more people see the video. And that's just the way the world works now. So thank you very much if you could do that for me. Okay, so what I'm going to cover in this video is my own personal story with exercise intolerance. Also, what I see in other people, clients that I work with that are in psychiatric drug withdrawal, either tapering or off, and how they kind of go through the process. And then the last part, I'm going to share some theories about why we have such trouble. And then the very last part is some ideas on how to get it back, or what you need to do, or what you should think about while trying to get some movement in. Okay, so let me share my own story with this topic, because it has been probably one of the most devastating parts of this injury for me, and the hardest things to get back. And I swear to you that, and please do not compare to me, okay, first of all, because I was on 40 different drugs in 13 years, and I was cold turkeyed off benzos like 13 times according to my medical records. And so my timeline is way further than most people, okay? I know that I'm an exception to the rule. Most people are way healed way before me. So please do not compare yourself to my timeline. It will just make you feel worse and make you feel scared. And I am not you. You are you, okay? But what I want to share here is super vulnerable for me. And it's come up like in one of our focus groups, where how to come Angie like was really quiet between years 7.5 and 9.5, and like didn't really share her process, and like she was like really symptomatic, and then all of a sudden she's healed. That's not what happened. Obviously. I just know that I have to be careful about what I share, because I don't want to scare people, because again, my story is not the norm. But in between that 7.5 and 9.5, I'm now 9.5 years off, there was a lot of trial and error with exercise. Let me say that. So this is a recent development in my own healing journey. The fact that I even got my exercise back, and it actually feels good now. So that is new, kind of new. And it's, I've just been watching it evolve, and I've been super excited to talk about it. Like almost after every workout, I'm like, I need to make a video about this. Oh my God, this is so exciting. Because some of us that are severely protracted, we're pretty rare in the community, and people are scared of us. But like at a certain point in your healing, you just kind of give up. Okay. You're just like, if this is as good as it gets, I guess I can live. I have some good things happening in good directions, but like not everything is back, and not everything is great. So when I got this back, it was like huge for me, because I had kind of given up on it a little bit, because you just kind of have to be able to like survive. So, it's recent and it's new, and I'm just like so freaking happy about it. Okay. So let me go back to the beginning. Before I was injured, okay, we're talking 2012, okay, I was down to Cymbalta, very few beads of Cymbalta. I tapered Cymbalta for 2.5 years before I finally got off. My taper was pretty successful, and then I did not have a lot of symptoms, but it was probably because I was on 2 benzos at the time. It was probably masking some of the symptoms. However, I would feel like an increase of anxiety, and then it would like kind of come down. I wasn't socializing, but I was working out back then. This is 2012. Okay. I had just started getting fitness back after my other tapers that happened before that wrecked my nervous system. Okay. So there was like this period of like really good healing. Again, I was still on 2 benzos, but I started exercising. I started doing CrossFit. And just to give you an example of where I was at before this cold turkey, I was working out 5 to 6 days a week. I was running 5Ks once a month. I had been an athlete my entire life. I played soccer. I was a cheerleader. I played softball, like basically from age 5 to 18. I probably should have went, instead of the military, I probably should have got a soccer scholarship. I was really good at soccer. I was always on select teams. I was a runner. very active, like pretty much my whole life until psych drugs came into the picture. I was also in the military. We ran every single day. We worked out every single day. When I was medicated, all of that went away very fast. When I got down to Cymbalta and 2 benzos, it started coming back. Okay. And so some of you will experience that while you're tapering. You will get things back. Okay. You're not miserable the whole time. Usually there will be periods where it's like harder and some periods where it's easier. So between 2012 and 2016, I had a pretty good period. I was weightlifting. I could deadlift 250 pounds and I was only 168. So it was almost double my body weight of what I could deadlift. I could back squat 205 at 168 pounds. So that goes to show you how strong I was, how active I was, how fit I was on Cymbalta while I was tapering and down to 2 benzos. Okay. Then I got off Cymbalta. I was fine for about 1.5 years. I was working out, continuing to working out, didn't lose any of that after that Cymbalta taper. Then I got down to 1 benzo. And to watch my whole story, you can go back and watch like the very first video I posted. But long story short, when that cold turkey happened, everything was over. And because I didn't know what happened right away, I knew that it was the drug. I knew I was in withdrawal, but I didn't know like all the things that most of you guys know from watching YouTube videos and reading forums. I didn't know about forums. I knew I was in withdrawal. I knew it was very severe, but I did not know what it meant or like all these little things that our community kind of knows about like what to avoid and what to do and what not to do. So I'm hopefully going to share some of those shortcuts because I learned a lot of things the hard way. So for example, leading up to this event, I was working out, like I said, 5 to 6 days a week. That was my norm. My community, because I was a single female, no kids, no family, was my gym. Those people, we blood, sweat, and tears together. Okay, some of my best friends still now are from that gym. So when I cold turkeyed, I was in the hospital for about 5 or 6 days. I got out. It hadn't quite hit me yet. Okay. So I'll never forget this, but that 6th morning, I had went to gym at 8:30 in the morning. On my way home, I got a coffee from Starbucks. When I got home, I ate pizza. And I was like, why do I taste all these flavors? I can taste the green pepper, the onion, the basil, the salt. Everything is like super intensified. What is going on here? And then probably within the next couple days, everything ramped up, everything turned on, and I was in full-blown withdrawal. And that feeling in my body was full adrenaline. The amount of adrenaline that was inside of my body felt like I could lift a car, felt like I could run screaming down the street, felt like I could run a marathon and not be tired. Okay, we know that term as either like some people will call it activation. Because I know what that was now, that was interakathisia, but I didn't know that's what it was. Okay, the doctor called it agitated depression. So because I had all this extra energy and because my lexicon was go to the gym when you have energy and burn off the energy, that's what I did naturally because I didn't know any better. Okay, so very quickly I learned, oh my God, I am getting worse. And I'll never forget, I think I was a month off. And I went and tried the CrossFit Games because I didn't know any better. And of course, I didn't do it at like the high level that athletes do it. I was like scaled is what they call it, like a lower level. So instead of doing pull-ups, I was doing like ring dips or something, you know. After that workout, I sat on a box and I literally felt like every cell in my body was vibrating. Like everything was too loud and too bright. And my head was so full of pressure and my eyes felt like they were going to fall out of my head. And I was so dizzy. I had to sit there for like an hour and I could not drive. I couldn't move. I literally thought I was going to die. And the workout wasn't even that hard, honestly, for something that I had been doing for 4 years, you know? And I was like, something is real wrong. Like, why do I feel like this? And so that was my first clue. Like, whoa, this exercise thing is not good for you. But again, I see withdrawal kind of ramp up for people where it like starts out kind of tough, but then it like gets worse. That's definitely what happened to me. Okay, so I took for granted because I didn't know I was going to get worse that like this period where I thought I could exercise was not good. So then I backed way, way, way off. And I tried a couple times. I even tried to do like personal training one-on-one with my coach. And I told her what I was going through. And I was like, I just need something really gentle. I just need to move. Like, don't make me do anything hard, because I just didn't want to lose that. And I will tell you right now that I had already felt like I was losing everything. And then when you're going to take the gym away from me, I was like, I held on to that as long as I could. I promise you, I was fighting for my life, trying to like be able to move in a place with people that I love. And I ultimately lost it very quickly within the first month and a half from acute withdrawal after the cold turkey of that last benzo. So it makes me sad to talk about this because this is 9 years ago. But I left my gym bag in my cubbyhole at the gym. I left my membership on. I was paying $100 a month. And I just was like too proud to let it go. And I was like, I'm not going to lose this. I'm not going to lose this. And I did. So that was super depressing for me. Like I couldn't even stand up to shower. Do you know what I'm saying? There was no way I was going to the gym. So if you're there, it's very common that people lose the ability to go to the gym and shower and make their bed and wipe something off the floor or bend over. Okay. I'll get into that in a second. So, the next few years, I literally could do nothing in the way of exercise. I would attempt every once in a while to like try to walk maybe 1 block. And I'm having a flash right now of, I remember one time I was trying to walk in my neighborhood and I felt like my ears were wiggling. And then it scared me, obviously. And I was like, what? I didn't even know ears could wiggle. Like, how is that even supposed to happen? And I walked back to my house. And when I sat down, I felt like brain zaps, but they were in the back of my thighs. Like little cells were being zapped. Like I could feel fat cells dying or something. I don't know what it was, okay? But I'll tell you right now, I was terrified. And so like those little incidents would happen where I would try something and then I'd get worse symptoms and I'd be terrified and I have to go back and stop and like just, I can't do this right now, okay? So that's also normal that you make attempts and they don't work out and you get more scared of your body and you don't trust your symptoms and you're just like, I can't do this, you know? That's totally normal too. Okay, so then around 3 years off, I had a period where my visual symptoms were so bad. I had like no depth perception. If I would watch things on my screen, it almost felt like I was in the screen falling off a cliff or something. Or like if I saw an airplane, it was like I'd get this feeling of flying, you know, like horrible sensory and visual issues. So I went to a vestibular rehab therapist. She specialized in brain injury. And because I had prior brain injury after the military, not in the military, but there might have been some from the blasts and stuff that I was around. I don't know. So they treated me like I had brain injury, which was actually appropriate for what I was feeling. So I did a bunch of PT with her one-on-one, and it didn't really work. And she tested me at that time for exercise intolerance as far as physical therapy is concerned. And what she made me do was walk on a treadmill. And at any point that my symptoms felt worse, I was supposed to tell her. So she would like speed it up and she would put the incline up. And basically when my heart rate would hit 110, I would start getting really bad symptoms. And so then she would make me stop. Okay. So she said, yep, you have a form of dysautonomia where when your heart rate speeds up, your nervous system gets dysregulated. It can't control all these systems at once. It overwhelms and floods your system. So you got to back off. So we would do simple things like just step on this box and step down, like very slowly. Okay. I would do mostly eye exercises. I would do a little bending over and standing back up. And honest to God, it did not help my symptoms. They said that out of a scale of, I only improved on 3 points out of 100. So they said it was not clinically significant, that 18 months of this vestibular rehab did not work. But for me, what it did was I had a safe person with me to try these things with, and that it made me fear my symptoms a little bit less because I had proof over and over and over again that I would try these little things of movement and nothing bad would happen. So part of me was like, okay, well, if I bend over and pick this up, it's not going to feel good. but I don't think I'm like harming myself. I'm not running a marathon. I'm just bending over. And I've never fallen over before, and I never had a seizure before because that's what my brain is telling me. So maybe it's safe to bend over every once in a while, but don't like do that on purpose. You see what I mean? So that's kind of where I was around 3.5 years off. Then around 5 years off, I had a very generous person help me get an e-bike because I was in the van at the time. I could barely hike or walk or anything. And so his idea was if you get an e-bike, then it could like help you go farther, and that would help you like get out of the van and go into the world and like explore and go into nature. And so I was like, that sounds like a great idea. So that poor bike sat on the back of my van for like a year because I could not ride it. And then every once in a while I would try, and I won't forget this either. I was in Shenandoah National Park, which is near Virginia and Maryland. And I took the bike out for 1 mile, and I started feeling symptoms. And I was like, uh-oh, this isn't good. I need to turn around and go back right now. And I went back, and I sat on my toilet in the van, and everything in my peripheral vision was going forward instead of being stable. Okay. So like my central vision was normal. My peripheral was pulling that way. So imagine when you're riding a bike and everything is going this way, right? Past you. So then I stopped and it was going that way. And I was like, oh my God. And I literally sat on my toilet for like an hour watching this happen. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can't go anywhere. I guess I just need to sit here and wait for it to go. I don't know what to do. So back the bike went up onto the rack because I couldn't really use it. So the next period between like 5 years off and 7, let's say, I would just try every once in a while. I would like, sometimes I'd be able to walk a mile. Sometimes on a bad day, I couldn't walk at all. And then I'd get like a little impulse. This is really important, guys. I want you to hear this. If you get an impulse that says, I think I might be able to walk like a block, that's the stuff I started to follow. And some people get that way earlier than I got it. Most people get it way earlier than I did. Okay. And I would get them every once in a while, and I would try, and they didn't always work out. Okay. But again, I never died. I didn't have a seizure. I didn't ever fall over. I never hit my head, nothing like that. Obviously, if you're in a different state physically, be careful with this kind of stuff. But I want you just to get the point that there might be impulses that are telling you, like, I kind of want to walk down the street. Let me just see if I could do it. I was listening to that stuff constantly, okay? So that's your body's way of letting you know, like, I think you can do this. You might be ready for this. I just thought of something that every once in a while when I would do that, I would feel like a flood of good chemicals, but it felt weird, okay? And I'd be like, what is that? So I'm going to get to this part later too, just about our hypersensitivity. But sometimes you feel stuff, but your brain interprets it as dangerous when it might be actually something good, but you're just so used to feeling bad, you're not used to the good. That's its own process, which I will get to very shortly because that's kind of where I was the last couple years. But just listen to the impulse if you do get them sometimes. And it could be simple, like, let me just raise my hands over my head, and do like a simple yoga pose, like one, like follow that if you get something like that. Okay. All right. So this is the trial and error phase. You will hit that at some point in your either taper journey or in your withdrawal journey where you will get impulses. You will try. Some days they'll be really good. Some days they won't be bad. Just try to trust your nervous system to tell you when it's time. Okay. And that does not mean go for a 5K walk. Excuse me. That means like go around the block. That means take a stretch. That does not mean go in the direct sunlight on the hottest day of the year. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not even telling you to push it. Okay. I'm telling you to listen. This is not a push. This is a listen. It's opposite. Excuse me. So then let's see. The next stage of my journey was I feel kind of bad. But do I feel bad because I'm not working out, or do I feel bad because I'm still in withdrawal? And that is the tricky part, okay? So at around that same point, I also felt this strong feeling of well-being coming back in my body, okay? Like I felt like, wait, I'm actually kind of strong. I can lift up some heavy things. Wait, I'm walking a little bit more at shopping mall or something, or like I'm walking the dog a little further. something's going on here. I feel a little bit better. Maybe now I can try the gym. Okay. Again, I started really slowly, personal training. Before that, I started videos on YouTube. So Yoga with Adrienne is excellent. One of my assistants loves Boho Beautiful for Pilates and yoga, and she does like meditation stuff. Look for like yin yoga, restorative yoga, yoga nidra, that kind of stuff, like very chill. Tai Chi. I have clients that do Tai Chi. Some do Qigong. There might be even a Christian version of that. I don't know what they call it, but some kind of Christian movement if you're not called to the Eastern stuff. Gentle movement. I have a couple clients that do lots of swimming, and that does not mean they are doing laps. That means they're like walking in the shallow end, you know. The cold water helps them a little bit. Some of them do warm water PT. So think of like your reentry phase as something very gentle. Like go to the golf place and swing some golf clubs, or play catch or kick a soccer ball against your back wall. Something very gentle, okay? Before that, if you're like bedbound or housebound, I would suggest even like sit down on your bed and stand up like twice every time you get out of bed instead of once, okay? Or when you sit down on the toilet, do it twice. Does that make sense? Or get a soup can and just like, I've done this with clients before, like you just pick it up and then put it over your head and then put it back down, okay? Just something very simple like that. I'm sorry this video is getting so long, but I already knew this was going to happen because this is a good one. So I might just cut it off here and do a part 2. But let me finish my journey first, and then when we move into the tips and the theories, we will cut it off there. So that was my reentry phase, okay? And again, it wasn't great. Sometimes I'd feel worse. The feeling I felt the most around this phase was I would work out, I'd feel pretty good while I was doing it, and then I'd go back in the car or the van, and I'd be like, oh God. And I would get like a flash of panic a little bit. Like my body was almost like, what did you just do? Like it was a little shocking, but I would sit there and just self-soothe, and I'd be like, it's okay. I know that you're not used to exercise, but I swear that it's safe. Okay. And we're going to just act like we're not freaked out, and I'm going to go take a gentle little shower, and I'm going to wipe my face off, and I'm just going to try to reassure my nervous system that it's actually okay to do this. All right. So honest to God, that only happened like 5 times where I had this like shock of panic, and then it stopped. And I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. So I think part of your nervous system, this isn't the theories part, but where it thinks that it's interpreting it as dangerous when it's not. It's actually safe because your body's stronger now. So that was like part of the stage. And then after that was I started pushing the intensity a little bit harder. So once I had this like base level of trust where I could do workouts, they were successful. I didn't maybe feel great, but I didn't like have any waves from it. I didn't have like consequences. Maybe like an hour later, I feel kind of crappy. Then I started pushing the intensity a little bit. Okay. So when I started doing that, then I would get pretty bad fatigue that felt like, chronic fatigue syndrome, pretty much, like just completely ruined my whole day. Like I can't do anything. You know, it felt great while I was doing it. How am I supposed to know it's going to ruin my day? But like, this is terrible. So, I just stayed with it, and I would wait, you know, I'd watch it. So it was like, it might last 5 hours, and then another day it would last 7 hours. And then I'd be like, geez, like I can't get nothing done. I have like bad brain fog. I'm exhausted. And I really didn't even do that much. Okay. So at that period of time, because you don't know until like you live this out a little bit and then you look backward, I was thinking, oh my God, I'm never gonna be able to work out again because I can't, like, it doesn't feel good. It feels terrible. Like I like doing it, but like it doesn't, I get this bad consequence. So like, what am I supposed to do? So then I would back off again, of course, like can't do this because I have to work today, or I have to do this or do that. So I think that was also just a part of it working itself out. There was still some healing to do, but these last couple of years, this stuff has like happened pretty fast. I want you to know that. So I think as I built trust in my nervous system that like exercise is safe and I am going to do it responsibly and meter it and like listen to my body and don't do anything nuts, that that some of that healing kind of like worked itself out. Also, some of that neuroplasticity from exercise probably helped me heal in some ways. Okay. So I will get to that again in the theories part, but there's a lot going on here, why we're affected this way and possibly ways to help it. So just think of it in that context. So in this last phase, this is the last 6 months. Okay. Honest to God. I had this feeling last fall where I was like, okay, I feel really crappy in the morning, but it was like a soreness, like kind of tired, kind of negative thought loops. And I was kind of depressed at the time. I had a lot of stress in my life. I had some boy problems, like, you know, all this stuff, and perimenopause, by the way. And I was like, what is this? Like, is this withdrawal? Is this like lingering symptoms? Is this perimenopause? Is this stress? Like, what is it? And so I was kind of confused about it. So I was like, okay, let me try something. I'm going to do an experiment on myself. I'm going to try to work out like 3 days this week and see how I feel like on Sunday. And then the first day I felt like crap after. The second time I was like, wait, I feel better. Then the third time I felt better. And I was like, wait, this is not withdrawal. I feel better. And I was like, my body wants to move and I'm not letting it. I'm like paralyzing myself because I'm stuck in this a little bit. So I need to prioritize myself and put myself on top of the list now and let me just see how this exercise goes. So then, of course, stress got in the way, work got in the way, a little bit of feeling yucky got in the way. I'll just put it that way. So I kind of let it fall off again. And then I gained like 20 pounds real quick. And then I was like, wait, this is not going to happen. Hold on a second. So I started back up. So this is what happened. I got back to St. Louis like April 15th or something. Okay. This is now July. And I literally drove straight to the nutritionist that I used to go to. And I said, I feel like crap. Can you please fix my diet? I don't care how much it costs. I need to get back on track, make all the meals that I need to eat. I'll pick them up. And then as I was leaving with a bunch of new food, I texted my old personal trainer from way back when. And I said, can you please book me like 3 appointments this week? I need to get back in it. I'm like, I need to trust my body and just go with it. I need you to help me get back into CrossFit. Like, help me. Let's go. So she booked a bunch of appointments. So then I stayed super, super consistent from April till now. So that's been April, May, June. So it's been about 10 weeks. Okay. Let me tell you what happened in those 10 weeks. Within 4 weeks, I saw a difference. But within 10 weeks, I've dropped like 5 pounds. I've gained like 2 pounds of muscle. I've eaten protein 150 grams a day. I'm not perfect with my calorie count. I'm not trying to be like super rigid, but I feel so much better. Like, I feel like I'm the strongest I've ever been. I'm stronger than I was when I was in the military. I am if I could show you my phone, if I wasn't using the camera, I would. But my Garmin data for my wristband, literally every single day, it says athlete score increases +1. You know, you've pushed this. This is more intense than your usual workouts. And then it says above weekly average. And if you see like my score, it'll give you a score like from 0 to 100 of how intense a workout is. My workouts used to be like 4s, 5s, 8s. Now they're like 37, 57. My weekly score used to be like a 10. And I can go years back. You know, I've had Garmin's the whole time because I wanted to monitor my sleep and stuff. You can see, if somebody could just pull my data and look at it, it's amazing. But now it's like my scores are in the 300 for the week, where it used to be like 10 or below for a week. Now it's 300. If you look back 6 months ago, it was 20s and below, and now it's 300s. So in the last 6 months, it like skyrocketed, okay? And I think just a bunch of things came together at once. My diet, my priorities in my life, my healing was at a certain point. I didn't push anything. I let this unfold the way it needed to. I listened to my body. I listened to my impulses. I experimented every once in a while. I backed off when I needed to. And trust me, that's not easy when you're an athlete and you know that to be your life. Like, I love moving. I love being in my body, and I couldn't, okay? There was no amount of exposure therapy that was going to fix it, okay? It was a waiting and an unfolding and a listening to what was happening. So I hope that helps you. I'm going to end this video now because it's so long. And I will do a part 2, and we'll upload part 2 about our theories and ways to get it back things to think about, some tips, some tricks, all the things. But that's my story with exercise intolerance. Thank you for listening.